is happening? You have got to be kidding. Do you think I'm crazy? Oh shit. Apocalyptic. This is crazy. Oh shit. This is crazy.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Hey.
it's that time once again.
Yeah.
Time for Euclid Nooks 2.0.
Mm-hmm.
If you thought 1.0 was good, just wait.
I love that Blau intro.
Just wait till you hear 2.0. Yes, Blau.
I mean,
Who
you've
is-
heard 2.0 a few times, huh?
Oh yeah, I don't even know how many episodes we're in now, but yeah, Blau is not only killing it in the music scene, he's also killing it in the NFT scene.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, wow.
A lot of guys are blowing up in the NFT scene.
And gals.
And gals.
But
Yeah.
I'm assuming.
I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen
I've
that
seen
many
some.
females yet. I know there are. But
Yeah.
anyway, on
Wow.
today's episode of Euclid Nooks 2.0, we have the famous Andreas Antonopoulos. On this episode, we did touch on some very controversial subjects and topics.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Some things you might not agree with. That's
Yeah.
okay. We're here to challenge your way of thinking on this show. And I think we did a pretty good job of that on this episode. I think you're going to enjoy it.
Just exposing other opinions and viewpoints, you know. It's good. It's
If
good,
you're-
good stuff.
Can't be open, guys, to other viewpoints. You're not going to have a good time in life. Not going to make it. I don't know. NGMI. Yeah, not going to make it.
Maybe going to make it. MGMI.
Maybe. Before we get to the episode here, the good stuff, the meat of the episode.
Under the gravy.
Yeah. Under the gravy. Interesting.
The meat is usually under the gravy.
That's right. We wanted to say thank you to our sponsors, of course, Lisa of Coast2Coast Signings. Lisa, we just went to Asheville and we got her some bee stuff, some bee tchotchkes.
Love you, Lisa.
I'm sure she's super excited to receive some. Don't get too excited though, because it's literally just some stickers and.
Just don't tell her what it is.
Well, we tweeted out and she saw it, so she already knows.
Okay, it's okay.
Of course,
and of course, she's not. She already knows. So.
Yeah, I keep telling her about it, and we're gonna send them.
She's like, put it in the mail.
She's
already.
like, shut up already. Send me this stuff. Also, of course, Gala Games. We're gonna play a cool little commercial. It's not a commercial. It's a teaser for the upcoming game Mirandus that we are all very excited about.
Yeah.
So definitely check out Gala Games. Also wanted to shout out and thank you to itakecrypto.com, and we're going to hear from them as well. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoy this special episode of Euclid Nooks 2.0 with Mr. Andreas Antonopoulos.
Yay. Bye.
Be sure to check out itakecrypto.com, the free local business listings directory that lets the world know your company takes Bitcoin and other cryptos as a form of payment for your products and services. Create your free listing today, no credit card required. It's itakecrypto.com.
Does your business accept Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies? Does anybody else know that? Now, with itakecrypto.com, you can let more potential customers find your free listing and let them know. More and more small businesses accept Bitcoin as a form of payment, but there aren't very many places to discover local businesses that do. itakecrypto.com offers a free directory service for all businesses that accept cryptocurrencies. Now, you can reach a larger audience and attract new customers to your business. We love cryptocurrencies, and we want to support cryptocurrency adopters in any way we can. That's why we provide you with a free platform for you to advertise, and at the same time, find businesses in your area that you'd love to spend your Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies on. Our listing plans offer 3 packages, and each one produces different results. We are a community put together to support unique businesses and all cryptocurrency enthusiasts. Visit itakecrypto.com to learn more and start your listing today.
Okay, we've got the visuals looking good. We're already recording because let me just be honest. I am a person that deals with anxiety and nerves.
He knows.
And I've basically been ready for this for over an hour now, waiting and
probably longer.
And doing this. But now we are here.
Very good.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, let's get it started. Why not? Just get right into it.
Okay.
I think everyone knows who we're talking to here. It's pretty obvious. You are iconic in the cryptocurrency space, the community. This is Andreas Antonopoulos. I am a huge fan. I'm a fanboy. I am inspired,
Thank you.
to say the least. Yeah, we've since I've got into crypto, the very first thing I looked to was your videos, and you're a voice of reason when things get crazy. You are the guy that I think people can turn to, and I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass here. I'm serious.
A little bit.
Okay, fine, maybe a little.
It's true though.
But when things get crazy, for example, the last kind of ledger hack thing where everyone got all their things, you look to the people in the community that you can trust for guidance. You addressed it, and you've always sort of been the voice of reason, and
Thank you.
That's it. Apart from that, we have literally we don't do a script here. We don't have questions or anything. We're very much off the cuff, and I kind of wanted to touch on some of the crazy stuff that's happened over the year. We've had the world kind of went batshit crazy, right? I mean, to say the least. Wasn't that crazy? And was that scary to you, or were you the type who was just sort of like, you know what, we'll figure it out?
No, it was very scary. So around, I would say around January of 2020, I got quite worried. And my first worry was, okay, this is going to trigger the kind of recession that I think has been long overdue, and that might affect tech stocks and maybe disrupt supply chains from China. So around the middle of January, while we were seeing what was happening in Wuhan, I started thinking, okay, oh boy. And as you probably know, I run a business. This isn't a solo job. I have people who depend on me to pay their bills and their mortgages and their kids' orthodontics and ballet classes and whatever. And I wanted to prepare for that. So I started kind of preparing for weathering a recession. Then around the end of January, I'm like, okay, this is going to come to the United States for sure. It's we were beginning to see what was happening in northern Italy at that point. And so I bought my first batch of N95 masks
Smart.
on January 30th.
Oh, wow.
And then I started telling my family, okay, this is what we need to do to prepare. You need to get some masks. This has the potential of going pandemic. And nobody believed me. And
That's funny. Like, your family didn't believe you.
well, no, but they were like, well, I mean, maybe, but what are we expected to do? Just stay home and not go out?
Yeah.
It was unfathomable, right? So here's the thing, though. I am used to looking at things that are happening, looking at trends, extrapolating, looking at exponentials in technology, and saying, okay, we are here. If this is exponential and not linear, then 1, 2, 3, okay, in 3 months, this is where we're going to be. This looks bad or good, right?
Right.
And please listen to me. There's a small chance, but if that chance realizes, it's going to have a very big impact. And then people ignore me or laugh at me or dismiss me. That's happened to me when I talked about the internet, Linux, when I talked about the web, when I talked about computers in the early 80s, and when I talked about Bitcoin. And it happened again when I talked about the pandemic. So
I noticed a trend.
Right. And I'm like, okay, don't listen. I'll do what I need to do to prepare for this. And if I'm wrong, okay. But I think people have a lot of difficulty with events that have low probability, high impact.
Right.
For which you do need to do something if you want to avoid the potentially high impact. Anyhow, so it was scary. And it was scary first for my business because I thought this was going to lead to a significant economic impact. And it did. I mean, 2020 was a very difficult year to survive as a business. And then it was scary for me and my family. And then as I saw that, basically, America completely botched it, and there was a kind of a deliberate attempt to pretend that this wasn't happening.
Yeah.
And as the famous saying by Winston Churchill is, you can count on Americans doing the right thing after they've tried everything else.
Right. Well, being an American, I wasn't having a good time during the things.
Right.
I mean, and it was very difficult on, we're very much plugged into social media, and the general consensus, what I saw, at least the loud people, were not in the same camp that I think we were. It was more of like, this isn't happening. This is all, there's so much conspiracy theories and stuff. I don't want to get political, but obviously our president at the time did not react correctly. And we could have handled that much better. We were the same way. Our son, he told us,
late January, I think.
Late January, he said, our oldest son, he said, you guys, we need to kind of pay attention to what's happening.
Be prepared.
And we were kind of like, oh, okay, I'm sure it'll be fine.
That's not true. I started buying all kinds of canned things.
Well, at first. And then I think in like March, I made like a YouTube video where I showed the screen of like the cases, and there was no red on the map. There was like New York and maybe California. This was like in March, I think, of last year. And I had a mask on, and I was kind of making a joke, and I said, we're fucked. And we ended up, that happened. You looked at the map, and it completely, this was before it was in the United States really bad. It was completely red. The whole, it's here. There's no denying it. We can't pretend like it's not happening. People can't fathom something like that happening. I know that.
Right.
I think that was the issue with the majority of people. Like, wait, you're telling me we're vulnerable? Like, I'm vulnerable? Like, there's something that could kill me? I think a lot of people are very. I don't know. I want to say
it's more about change. Like, it's afraid of like what does my life look like then if I can't do this? Then so that doesn't make sense. It just isn't.
Yeah. Well, there's a concept called normalcy bias, which is that our brains will contort themselves in order to maintain a semblance of normalcy, and that means that under some circumstances we become paralyzed because of change that's happening too fast or that's too scary, right? So very, very often people talk about fight or flight as the natural response, but fight or flight isn't the totality of it. In fact, the real concept should be fight, flight, or freeze, because the mammalian response to danger is fight, flight, or freeze. And you see that in crisis scenarios. Some people freeze, some people fight, some people run away. And in a political sense, and I think we should be political about this. If we look at, not partisan, political, if we look at politics as the mechanisms by which society governs itself, especially in a time of crisis, especially in a system of representative government, then these things matter. That's what government is for.
Right.
And when it fails spectacularly. When leadership fails, that has implications. And so it was presented initially, I think, as a choice between public health or the economy. And we've seen in practice that, in fact, it wasn't that. It was either save public health and the economy or lose public health and the economy, because you can't have one without the other. And it revealed kind of all of the weaknesses in a system that doesn't have paid sick leave, that doesn't have labor protections, that doesn't have a healthcare system that's unified. And we're seeing it even now. With the vaccine distribution, which is a complete mess. And I mean, for me, the most astonishing thing was when I started talking to my family in Greece, and I heard about how the Greek government was dealing with this. And I suddenly realized that Greece is handling this with a degree of competence that is surprising to me. And I never expected Greece to handle it with a degree of competence and the United States not to. I mean, what is happening? We're an upside down world.
I
That's
don't know,
not,
man.
I wasn't shocked by it. I mean, I didn't expect much. I don't think. I think I thought that's what happened.
So here's what I realized. I'm 44 years old, but like I have the mentality of probably maybe a 20-year-old, maybe, for whatever reason. She'll argue maybe less than that. But it clicked for me is that we don't know what the fuck we're doing. And the people in charge don't really know what they're doing. I think there's a lot of just winging it. We have this false sense of like, that these people in these places that we've put in these positions, and I'm saying that our leaders and that they are somehow, I don't know, kind of know what they're doing, but I don't think they do. And okay, for example, the thing with the cops that really shook me was during all we had a lot of during the last riots and stuff here in the United States. This was during the middle of it. I can't remember which month, but it was another black person was killed, and there was rioting, and this is during a pandemic already, and the response by the police and stuff really kind of, I don't know why, but it kind of surprised me. I thought,
what response?
Well, they weren't. I don't think they were treating the protesters like garbage, and even the media and stuff wasn't allowed to. It seems like they weren't covering it. Now, I don't know what is truth and what is what I'm watching on TV, but you saw things like where like loads of bricks were being found. I don't know if were they trying to incite and make the protesters who are literally just trying to say, hey, could you guys stop shooting us, please? Black people. I'm talking about black people. Could you the police please stop shooting us? Just treat us like equals, And I feel like that's what the protesters were saying, but I feel like the response by the authority was wrong, and I can't give you exact examples of what I'm talking about, but that was just.
I think you said it right, which is we have to be careful with our language, and I think it's really important to recognize that what happened during the summer in the United States were riots by cops. The cops rioted. The cops rioted countrywide. They rioted with extreme brutality against any imposition of accountability, transparency, any challenge to unquestioned authority, and they rioted with extreme violence. We saw a nationwide police riot, and it was brutal, and it demonstrated precisely the degree of brutality that people of color face in their communities every day. And the only thing that's changed between the past and now is that now there are so many cameras. And so, people who don't live in those communities get to see it. I lived in a community that was primarily a community with people of color, and it was, I saw it. I saw the New York Police Department, 71st Precinct, treat my neighbors with extreme brutality on a daily basis as a foreign occupying army, and it was horrifying. And there are no good apples. The entire barrel is rotten. So yes, I mean it was a really hard year for so many reasons, and it kind of it was just one thing after another.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think it culminated in this. To me, this was the year where we really saw history repeat itself. If you ever wondered how it was possible for fascism to rise in Germany in the 1930s among communities of good people, where good neighbors did nothing to stop it, well, now you know. Now you know exactly how it happened and how it could happen in the United States. We saw, and for me, that was horrifying to watch blatant white supremacy,
right?
And to watch basically to reveal the fact that the police is heavily infiltrated by white supremacists, and all of those things, just all of the problems that we have, and it's going to continue happening. I mean, for me, the most disappointing thing, ironically, was the election of Joe Biden. Not because I wanted Trump to be reelected. I wanted Trump to be impeached and imprisoned. But because I don't think Biden's going to fix anything. Right. Because we got a corporate warmongering president to replace the corporate warmongering, narcissistic white supremacist presidents, which isn't going to improve things enough. And so I'm kind of done with it. Honestly, I'm kind of done. But
what do we do though? Like, what's the solution? Because we know we're fucked, right?
Well, what we do is we use the internet, we use Bitcoin, we use whatever flexibility we have to talk about the things we want to talk about. We use our platforms to speak loudly. We use platforms like Bitcoin to exit the system that is financing oppression and war worldwide in any fiat currency. We defund governments. One way to defund the police or the military is to defund the government itself.
Right.
And we do that with Bitcoin, and we do it with the internet as a platform to communicate. And there's going to be a lot of pushback. I mean, as we're having this conversation, I can assure you there's going to be an enormous amount of hate that I'm going to get on Twitter for just speaking these things. It is unacceptable.
How dare you speak your mind, sir?
I know.
Yes. I mean, part of the reason for that is because Bitcoin has been, there's been an attempt to hijack Bitcoin by a far-right, ultra-conservative, radical agenda, and I think that's kind of disgusting. It's to me, it's not unreasonable to oppose fascism, to say Black Lives Matter, to me these are straightforward, obvious truisms, and I never saw Bitcoin as something that has any relationship to specific political ideologies or anything like that. It's supposed to be a neutral platform, but and I have the right to speak my opinion. But when I do speak my opinion on these topics, I get viciously attacked by people who cannot tolerate an opposing opinion. So, I mean, it's going to bring a lot of pushback. But if those of us who have the safety, the privilege, the freedom, the ability, the flexibility to speak, don't speak, how are you expecting people who will get murdered for speaking to speak? So I think that's why it's important.
I was going to ask you something, and well said, by the way. I agree with everything you just said. I was going to say this. Now, a lot of us, I don't think, can regulate ourselves. And a good example of that is the way everyone reacted or didn't react to the pandemic, for example, all grouping together. And I'm not talking about the things that was happening with the rioting, but the like going to bars and things. And, when it was really at its height and we didn't know, I think we've kind of seen, it's been over a year now. But in that time where we didn't know what to believe, how bad this thing was. We saw that people were dying. We saw that first responders are dying. We saw that, people, doctors and nurses were, struggling. There was hospitals, and people were just adamant that it was not happening and that it was all a hoax. And they're at bars and going crazy and living their lives. And my thought is like, what's the balance? Because you said like, defund the police and what's the balance? Because honestly, I don't think as a people we can figure out how to. We don't know what's best for ourselves. We're dumb, man.
Yeah. So exactly. So that would speak to funding education. I mean, part of the reason that you have a lot of these problems is because in order to fund the police, for example, or the military, we've starved all of the other institutions of society of any kind of funding. So schools are underfunded, infrastructure is underfunded, basic support systems are underfunded, their mental health is underfunded, and healthcare is underfunded. So as a result of that, in order to fund these things, you create more problems on the front end. There's been a very deliberate attempt and a very effective attempt to undermine science education in the United States. I mean, I was educated in a school in Greece, and I went to university in England. And in terms of science education, I kind of seen what the science curriculum is like. It is embarrassingly bad, and that's in the good schools in the United States.
Right.
So science education is terrible in this country. And so not only that, but there's a cultural drive to make it so that scientists and being smart and having knowledge is seen as a weakness. In fact, it's seen as strength to be dumb and have bravado and machismo and attitude rather than knowledge. That's deliberate, right? If you keep a population stupid, you can control that population. And so to me, the real issue is the lack of education. It's not just a matter of political leadership, because you look around and you have your neighbors buying into conspiracy theories and unable to understand kind of the very, very basics of how respiratory diseases work, how how protective measures that you take, not just for you, but also to protect the people around you, the fact that you have asymptotic transmission and all of these things. Fairly simple concepts, but and that puts everyone at risk. And of course, the less responsibly everybody else behaves, the more precautions you have to take.
Right.
Right.
That was my thing on Twitter early. Okay, was, you know what, fine, you don't want to put on a mask or stay home, but you're kind of fucking up my shit. You know what I mean? Like, by you spreading and going out and pretending like this shit isn't real, you're kind of fucking up my shit here at home. Like, I can't just chill at home. I can do this for a year. I'm good. Like, we're good. Our kids are homeschooled. We work from home. I don't really like people anyway. I'm good. If I don't care if I never see my family again, honestly, they're horrible people. But I'm kidding. Well,
you're not, though.
Kind of. But the point is, you guys are fucking up my thing, because like, maybe I don't, after about a year, I might be over this and I'm ready to get out and stuff. And which we did. Tamara and I took a little mini vacation. We're responsible. We wear our mask, but we did go to restaurants where you literally take off your mask to eat. Okay. Was that a little irresponsible of us? Probably. Am I losing my fucking mind, Andreas? Yes. Okay. And sometimes,
I mean, everybody is. I mean, that's the other thing, which is that to look at this purely as the COVID pandemic is to see it too narrowly. This was not just a respiratory virus pandemic. It was also a global mental health crisis. It was also a global political crisis. And a lot of people really did lose their mind. And there's a lot of fear, anxiety, and in some cases, rage. And we're beginning to see that now boiling over. So I even though we can vaccinate, for SARS-CoV-2, and I'm getting my vaccine soon. I'm very, very glad I will be able to do that. We can't vaccinate for fear or rage or anxiety or depression or all of the other things that come from a globally traumatic event, right? The entire planet underwent trauma. It is not normal to be fearful of human contact, to be isolated, to be deprived of touch, of social contact, of engagement, or for children to be deprived of close contact with their friends, of innocent play. These are not normal things, and our psyche was wounded, right? Even if our lungs were not. I found it very difficult. As you probably know, and I talk about this often, I also suffer from anxiety, and I have in the past suffered from depression as well. And I'm in an environment where there are now environmental triggers for all of these things that push my buttons hard. And also I'm an extrovert, so being locked up in a house, not good for me, not good for my psyche. Being indoors all the time, not good for my psyche. So I don't think this will be over so fast. I'm very hopeful that by this summer we'll be able to breathe more safely, quite literally. But there will be waves of repercussions from the mental trauma that's being created here. And I think at this time, one of the things we can do is understand that sometimes the friends who we haven't been in touch with, maybe check in and say, hey, how are you doing? I know things are hard, but I just wanted to check in with you. Because obviously if you are having anxiety or depression or any other kind of struggle with mental health, one of the first things you do is you cut off contact. I know I do. I don't want to answer emails or respond to people when I'm having a hard time. So if one of your friends is being a bit more quiet than usual, check in. This is a good time to reach out and help other people.
That's a good sign to look for too. So.
Well, I just went through that. I mean, literally 2 days ago, came out of like a bad one. Like I've got Tamara and I are blessed that we have a lot of online friends. Okay, we don't have a lot of in real life friends, but we're good with that. But we have a large community of good people that we've met here, and we and I did that. I pulled back and I'm like, I don't want to talk to anybody. Leave me alone. Depression does that. It feeds that though, and especially when you add anxiety to it, because not only do you have the I don't want to do anything, but you've got the anxiety demon saying that you're a piece of shit because you're not doing anything. Right. You know that you need. How dare you let these people down, and and you're whatever. So you've got that double, and it's bad. It's extreme. A friend of ours just on Twitter, one of his friends committed suicide, and just recently. Sorry to hear that. Yeah. And it's horrible. And I know, and there's probably people that we were interacting with that you kind of like, wait, I haven't heard from that person in a while. I wonder if they're okay. I think what's important, and the way I've always the position and what I'm trying to do with my whatever the hell it is that I'm doing online and stuff is I want people to see that flawed people like myself can still, and like you're a great example too of like you've had, I'm not saying you're flawed, I'm saying like you've had
everyone's flawed. Everyone is.
Absolutely, yes. And I will talk about it publicly for the same reason, because it's easy to look at someone and see only the bits that they put out in public and say, oh, you got your shit together.
Right.
And sure, maybe I do, but that doesn't mean that I don't also have moments when my shit is very much not together at all. Right. And everyone does to degrees, right? So, and it's important to say that you're not alone if you're struggling, especially now. But in any time of my life, there were always times when I'm having a bad day, and I think it's important to talk about that.
Something else that it just kind of recently kind of set home for me is like we're taught it's not okay to be sad. We're taught that you shouldn't be this way. You shouldn't feel that. That's what I was hammered in with my cold and loving mother, and I won't get into that now because we don't have enough time. But my mom didn't love me or hug me, Andreas, and as a result, this is what we have here. Is this? But no, I'm kidding. Well, I'm not. But the point is this: you go to your mom when you're a teenager or whatever, and you're like, "Hey, mama, I have this depression," and it's like, stop. Why are you sad? You just stop being sad. And I think that's the general. Society's
snap out of it.
Yeah, just stop being that way.
Well, and that's exactly like if you break your ankle and somebody says stop moping around all day, just stand up. What's wrong with you?
Just walk.
It's a sign of, it's almost like your admission of weakness that you're down, you're sad, that's not okay. But I think what I'm learning, and like I said, I'm 44 years old, I have no clue what I'm doing. Absolutely no clue. Don't forget that. Young people out there that are listening to this, it's okay to not know what the fuck you're doing. I think the point is I was going to make is that it's okay to be sad. It's okay to be down. That's not necessarily a bad thing. You don't want to be so down that you want to like hurt yourself. Obviously, if you have those thoughts, you need to reach out. But it's okay to be down. You don't always have to be up and Mr. Showman and doing and it's okay to take that time and just go inward if you have to and be depressed and own it and just be sad and feel that shit and figure out what the hell's going on. I
mean, it's okay. So good news, it gets better. Many studies have shown that happiness isn't something that is constant through life, but in fact, it follows a rather predictable curve in most people, and that is it's a U-shaped curve. So when you're a child and you have no responsibilities and you don't really understand what's going on, your happiness is high, right? Hopefully, unless you're in a traumatic environment. But generally speaking, children are relatively happy because obviously ignorance is bliss, as they say, and then it gradually declines. And after puberty, it starts declining a bit faster. And then there's this period somewhere between 20 or 25 to 40, 45, where you hit the lowest point of happiness across your lifespan. And those 20 years are the years when you don't yet know who you are, what you want in life, but shit got real.
Right.
And so, and it's traumatizing. You come out of, you finish university, maybe you have a series of goals that have been set up, where, part of it is what your parents wanted you to be, part of it maybe is what you wanted to do. And you've got these series of milestones, and they're predictable and they're regular, and you can see the next one right in your immediate horizon. And you just, all I have to do is make it through this midterm, then that final, then this year, then that year. And then you graduate and you're like, oh shit. Because then you look and it's just an endless road into the horizon of do whatever you want, but it's all going to come back to you. I had a mental breakdown when I finished university. Not a severe one, but an existential crisis, which was like, oh shit, what do I do now? And that continues. And then you spend this whole process of about 15 or 20 years trying to figure out who you are and what you want. And some people do it faster, some people do it slower. I think it's also important to have a coach, a therapist, something. You need a neutral third party to talk to. Who can teach you some fundamental skills, whether that's about how to manage your life, or if it's about how to understand your emotions and regulate them. And then just around when I turned 40, something magical happened to me, at least, which was I started understanding who I was and what I wanted in life, and building my confidence as to what I wanted and why I wanted it. And that curve's been going up since. So there is a turning point ahead, right? Where you build enough of the tools and you get to know yourself enough, and you start getting a bit more freedom and flexibility in your life. The kids are like, get out of here. And
I think it was
it
when
gets
you
better.
Figured out your purpose, right? Is that when, you notice like your happiness, like you kind of like, okay, I know why I'm here, because we don't know, no one knows why we're here, especially if you're like me, you're not religious. You're like, why are we here? Why am I here again? Like, why? And
I mean, partly, yes. Certainly being involved in Bitcoin and in this community has given me more purpose than I had before, but I'd already figured out who I was before I got into Bitcoin. I kind of entered Bitcoin with a fairly high degree of confidence and focus. So it happened a few years before that. I got into computers when I was 11 years old, so I always knew what I liked.
Right.
What I didn't know is who I was necessarily, and what I wanted, which are two different things. And just like you, I'm also an atheist, and so I'm not looking for some external purpose. Purpose is something that comes from within, in my view.
Right.
To clarify for me, I'm agnostic. I'm one of these, because I'm very much like, honestly, I think anything is possible. If there is a God or whatever up there, some old white man, I highly doubt it. I really highly doubt the way the whole is so sorry. It's so ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Come on.
I mean,
the entire thing is so ridiculous. Come on. And that's part, again, obviously we're triggering some people here, but that's part of
more hate mail.
That's the problem, guys. I hate to say this, but if you just subscribe to the just believe what I'm saying because I tell you to kind of thing. It kind of removes the thought process of your brain, and it kind of makes you think that just tell me what to believe, just tell me what to do, and then I'll be fine. Just take the wheel.
Some people need that, I think.
I wish I had the luxury sometimes of believing in religion, because then I could just chill. Then I could just be like, you know what? Leave it up to the man up there. You know what I mean? He'll take care of it. But the truth, and I hate to say this to a lot of people out there, this might not be the right time, but I don't think there is anything. I don't think there's a dude up there that's taking care of you and watching you, and we're all going to be living happily ever after we go. I think, my wife believes something different as far as like energy, like it can't be destroyed. I think this is it. This is our shot. And this is why I think it's okay to believe what I'm believing. I think this is it. You get one shot. You better do good. You better be okay with your other people on here, whatever we are, these weird beings that we are, okay? Just be good. Just be cool. You'll have a better time if you want to call it karma or whatever. But don't do it because if you're good, you'll get Rewarded in the afterlife. Do it because we're here now.
Yeah.
This is it. We're here. Yeah. You have a shot. Like, take it.
Have you heard the Buddhist saying that is, every person has two lives. Your first life begins at birth, and your second life begins when you acknowledge the fact that you only had one life.
Right.
When you truly embrace that idea that this isn't a dress rehearsal, this is the show.
This is it.
And whatever you make of it, however you live it, whatever you do, whatever impact you have on the world, this is it. There is no second chance. There is no other chance. But when you really understand that, become fully aware of it and embrace it, and of course, 5 minutes later, you might forget it and get caught up in the day-to-day,
trauma
and drama.
With a G.
Trauma. But that's really, really true. So yeah, I think we're on the same page here.
The one thing we do not have, you can accumulate so much wealth. Okay, you can be like Beeple and have $70 million after some NFTs. But what you cannot have is more time. This is it. The time, what you have, being with your kids, being with your loved ones. This is it. You can't buy any more time. So it's true.
You could probably cryo freeze yourself now if that's going to help you out.
I don't know.
I'm kidding.
But we don't. All I know for sure is certainties that I am here for some reason, and it's not great sometimes. Sometimes my brain tells me bad things, like that's the depression thing and the anxiety thing, and it tricks you into thinking things are not good or whatever. And
I think it's overthinking, but
and the anxiety part of it, and it's weird that our brains
not the depression. I meant the anxiety.
Yeah, it's weird that we have these flaws, like we're humans and stuff, but yet we, in like cancer and all these things that like these flaws that destroy us, and it's weird that they're built in. I don't really know why that is, and there's people that are suffering, and just because they're alive, because maybe their body's been eaten up by some kind of sickness or something. And this is very, very dark, and we're getting very dark. But the point is this, guys.
Yeah, but you take the things that you find difficult in your existence, and instead of hiding them, instead of hiding behind them, instead of using them as an excuse or a reason to just step away from everything, you take that and you use it. You use vulnerability as a means to connect with other people. And there's a great term, I don't remember who coined this, the idea of weaponized vulnerability, right? You're using vulnerability as a weapon to challenge the world, to go out there and show a side of yourself that is powerful and that other people can relate to and connect with, and that impacts their life, and it gives your words power. And I think that's an important thing. I try to keep that in mind myself and try to do it. And I try to speak openly about the challenges that I have, and not hide the parts of me that I don't like behind that. I also heard some other good advice, which is, when you do have that voice of doubt in your head, it's sometimes a good idea to give it a name and an image. So, call it Brian. Imagine a cantankerous 80-year-old boomer who is a miserable person who you don't really respect, trust, or care about their opinion, and then address them like that.
Right.
So it says to you, oh, you're this, you're that, you're the other. And you're like, oh, shut up, Brian.
Right.
I don't care what you think. Stop it. It works really well. It will boost your self-confidence if you visualize the negative voice in your head as someone who don't really care about their opinion.
That's good. I like that tip.
You deal with things similarly like Tamara and I deal with things with comedy. And
I was like, I don't know that we deal with things the same.
No, I think
you and I.
Well, Tamara, we connected that we both have a dark sense of humor, and we tend to. You're even better at it than me. You tend to find the light in things. Like, how crazy is this shit? Like, how absolutely ridiculous is what is happening to me? And you have to laugh at it. And she's really good at looking at it and going, this is so absurd that it's laughable. It's a comedy. This is comedy.
Laugh at, like the bad stuff.
And you have to have tools in your tool belt. Okay. Now, some people go to substances and drinking and alcohol, and they reach to that, and that's kind of how they cope. I think if you can figure out, and some people can do that their whole lives and be okay. I think if you could figure out a way to deal with the absurdity and the absolute crazy fact that no one knows what the fuck's going on, no one knows why we're here, and there's no rules, and there's no rule book, and there's just no book. Okay, I know people argue that there is a book.
Happens for no reason.
Right. It's chaos. It's absolute. Yeah. It's just chaos, and it's an accident. It's a good accident, I guess, that we're here, and we are here. Find some tools in your tool belt that let you deal with the fact that how crazy and absurd this is, and how
I think you have to learn them. Maybe. I don't
know. It's a learning thing.
Yeah, existence is a violent, non-consensual act that we all have to deal with.
I know. Sometimes I'm like, yo, I don't recall being like lined up and being like volunteering, like put me in. You know what I mean? Like I'm here, and I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know. I know not to hurt other people. Try not to hurt myself. Like that's it. That's it. That's basically it. Try to do things that, give you meaning and purpose but we don't know. We let other people, mean people on the internet, like piss us off. And so we react, or maybe our ego gets in the way and we get offended or whatever, but we're figuring it out as we go along. I don't want to keep you. It's been an hour.
Oh, has it? Oh.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah, it's not quite.
Yeah, but I wanted to thank you personally for taking your time to talk with us.
It's my pleasure, always.
When I felt most afraid, I reached out to you.
Oh my gosh. He DMs you like insanely. I'm always like, will you just stop?
And I want to say thank you. You had good advice, because I'm like, what the fuck what do we do with it? I'm kind of like, where do we go? And your advice to me was just love. And that's it. Just maintain.
I'm glad I said that.
Yeah, you did. That was the gist of it. And it boiled down to, you said, just keep your sobriety and remember love. And that kind of, it just sort of guided me through a really hard time. And we all did it. We made it. We're here. It's not over.
We didn't all make it. I think we've lost some people,
unfortunately, and it's not funny, but we did lose some people along the way. Yeah. But we're still doing this thing, whatever it is we're doing. Hopefully, if there's a purpose for us all, we're doing good. I don't know.
How did Greece handle it that was so much better than what we did here?
There is a spirit of kind of civic duty, and we're all in this together. And
Okay, that makes sense.
The leadership of the country at the time presented this as, okay, buckle up. We're going to go into this. We're all going to go into this together. We're going to support each other and figure it out. And it's not perfect by any means.
Right.
Every society will show its biggest cracks when it's put under pressure like this. And there were certainly some ugly elements that came out. But overall, it's handled. And right now, Greece is in a very harsh lockdown because they need to get the case numbers under control because the hospitals are overwhelmed, and also because the tourist season is coming. Which is a huge part of the economy.
Right.
But
what they're working on.
Before we go,
my dad's 90 years old, and he left his apartment. He went outside his apartment for the first time 2 weeks ago after a year.
Wow.
He did not leave his apartment for a year.
Yeah.
Not even to go downstairs, or not even to.
Wow.
Yeah.
In an apartment too.
That's
a big deal.
He didn't open his front door for a year, almost. And he got he's 90 years old. He got his vaccine. He's now.
Oh, good. And he did well with it. And
which vaccine are you going to get? Because I'm kind of like trying to figure out. You said you're getting one.
I mean, the simple answer would be I do not care. No. Any vaccine, I would take any of them, including the AstraZeneca vaccine. I've looked at the various clinical studies and the statistics and the data from that. I generally tolerate vaccines very well. Because I travel internationally, and because I've traveled to many tropical and subtropical countries.
Right.
Not only do I have so here's a funny story. I got my childhood vaccinations in Greece, and they didn't keep really strong records, and I had this little very old booklet of my childhood vaccination. So then when I went to England to become a student, they weren't very confident that I had done them properly. So they redid all of my childhood vaccinations. I got all of them, something like 8 or 9 vaccines again.
Right.
Then I immigrated to the United States, and after checking to make sure that I didn't have tuberculosis because I'm from dirty Europe, they then gave me 11 vaccinations. Wow. I had to do 11 vaccinations to get in to the United States.
Wow.
And then when I started traveling a lot, and especially once I started traveling for Bitcoin, I then went and did all of the other ones that I could reasonably do. So I have had more than 100 vaccinations probably at this point.
Wow. Okay. Have you had any bad reactions?
Maybe not.
Wait.
And I do the flu vaccine. I've been doing the flu vaccine every year for probably 15 years. No, I mean, I have the occasional sore arm, or if the vaccine is one that has a significant immunity effect, I might get the post-vaccine day of mild flu kind of reaction, which I expect I will get. I'm getting the Moderna vaccine, hopefully, if all goes well. But in any case, does not matter. I would line up for whichever thing they wanted to, whichever vaccine they would give me. Out of the ones that are approved in the United States, I'd get any one.
I wanted to ask him one more thing about conferences, because I know that's what you do. Like, I mean, you do a lot of things, but that is one of them, speaking and conferences. And how do you feel? I mean, obviously that's affected you. And I mean, are you doing better? Yeah. You're okay. So you're finding other means and. No,
I mean, basically within what I was afraid of would happen in January of last year, by the end of February happened.
Right.
And then everything got canceled.
Yes.
And so I used conferences to subsidize my education business. Commercial conference, community conferences I always do for free, but and to help me with my travel. So all of that went away. So my business lost 75% of its income in 3 weeks.
Wow.
The only other time that has ever happened to me was in 2009, when I was running a business that lost about half of its income in a matter of a month.
That's insane.
This time I was prepared for it, so I managed to weather it. But it was really hard. I did not lay off a single person. I did not cut anybody's hours, and we were able to get through it.
Good,
I haven't paid myself since 2019.
Wow.
Not a penny.
Wow. That's tough. I'm glad that you were able to keep your staff. I was wondering about that.
Yeah, that's
and,
impressive.
if you were able to.
Oh, yeah, no, I leaned in. I actually ended up hiring 3 more people.
Oh, wow. Good. That's great.
In various positions, yeah.
And I know that there are now starting to be conferences. And how do you feel about that? Do you think it's a little early? Are you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
So there's 2 aspects to that. I'm not afraid for myself necessarily, although I wouldn't go to a conference until after I've had a vaccine. I don't go into any crowded space ever. But even if I have the vaccine myself, it seems like transmission is suppressed so much that I don't think I would be a risk to others. But endorsing a conference that creates an environment where they create the conditions for a gathering of large numbers of people who have potentially traveled from different places around the world, that's a super spreader event.
Yeah.
I can't see resuming those until 2022. Possibly not even until mid or late 2022, until we get to a point where there are no longer outbreaks of COVID-19 around the world. Because otherwise it's irresponsible. If I go there, I'm endorsing that activity.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think it's grossly irresponsible. Even if you tried to do it outdoors, even if you tried, people are going to congregate in hotels and bars and restaurants. You're creating all of the conditions to flare up another thing. We're going to be virtual for at least another year.
I agree with you. Tamara and I are, in the same position. We're like ready. We're all ready. It's been a year. Like
of course.
We're all ready. Yeah. We're dying to, I joke about not liking people, but I also am an extrovert. I love attention. I love getting out there and interacting with my friends, especially my crypto friends. They're a fun bunch of people, but I do think it is too early. Like, let's if we could just chill, just a little bit longer, until, kind of we know more. I don't know what your schedule is, but I feel like we're keeping you longer than we should. But
yeah, I have a couple minutes before I have to start getting ready for my next one.
Okay. Again, I wanted to thank you.
Was there anything he wants to mention?
Yeah.
What are you working on right now that we should be keeping our eyes open for?
So right now, all of my focus is on my 6th book, Mastering the Lightning Network. It's in the final stages where we have 85-90% of the puzzle pieces, and now it's just about assembling. The first half of the book is done, and now I'm working on the second half, which it has mostly been written. Is just about putting it together in a readable narrative. I'm working with 2 other people, Olalu Ostakan, who's or Laulu, who is the Chief Technology Officer and co-founder of Lightning Labs, which makes the Lightning Network daemon, and Renee Picard, who is a data scientist and educator in Lightning. And it's been a fantastic collaboration. We're doing some really nice work there. So I'm hoping that will come out somewhere around mid-2021. It's very late, and pandemic. That's the main thing I'm focusing on until the summertime. And
last time we spoke with you, you were just starting to collab with them on that, and you were reaching out for you were reaching out to the community to help. And
then many things happened in my personal life as well as in my co-author's life and in the world in general that delayed everything. But we're there, we're getting there, and you can read that on GitHub at the moment because it's an open source book like my other books. And the first 5 chapters have been delivered already to the publisher, and they're beginning to trickle out to the early release customers, but you can read it for free online.
Awesome. For people that don't know already, how can they get in touch? How can they find your stuff? What's the easiest way?
Pretty much Antonop everywhere, but aantonop.com is my website, And if you're interested in learning about Bitcoin and open blockchains in general, I have a YouTube channel that has 630 plus videos. I do a weekly podcast called Speaking of Bitcoin, and I've published a number of books that you can find.
And you do live streams.
I also sell
and stuff
some
too.
really nice mugs that say things like "rules without rulers."
I like it.
I like that.
So they can buy some swag.
Yeah, dank memes for crypto.
Yes. Well, thank you again. As always, you, like I said, you've been a voice of reason. You've sort of been the grounding place that I go. If anyone asks me, if anyone's in my DMs and they're like, well, I don't know, how do I do this? I always tell them to go check out your YouTube videos, because honestly,
thank you.
that's where the information that you can trust is. I think it's been well established that you know what you're talking about.
It's delivered well also. So.
Yes. Thank
you so much.
Yes. That's it, man. I think we covered it. I don't know that there wasn't anything covered on this one. We literally talked about the meaning of life, and we established it when nobody knows. And I think people can at least feel good in knowing that, we don't know, and just keep going, I guess.
Thank you so much for all of your kind words and support for years now.
Yeah.
And it's always a pleasure. It's lovely talking with you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and the community thanks you.
And I hope you the rest of this time is easy on you, as easy as it can be, and your family. So
you too, as well.
Thank you. Appreciate
it. Hang out for 1 second. I'm gonna stop this.
All right.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that was another episode of Euclid and Oaks 2.0. How did you think it went, Tamara?
Loved it.
We did great. I hope everyone enjoyed it. I want to do a special shout out and thank you to all of our sponsors. That's Lisa at Coast2Coast Signings, Gala Games, and ITakeCrypto.com. You guys are much appreciated for listening to this, to our rantings and our silliness on our show. And make sure you check out our website at euclidandoaks.com.
And thanks, Andreas, for coming on our show.
Bye, everybody.